Okay, this is going to be our next painting. It's just going to be a gas lantern up against a concrete wall. They have some vegetation down in here, and what I'm going to do is, the reference is in the upper left hand corner, but I'm going to stray away from it just a little bit. I'm going to make my corners darker. Up here, here, down here, and down here. And what that'll do is create a little bit of a vignette effect to try and keep you in the composition, but at the same time, it may enhance what this flame is doing to its surrounding area. It might be a little wee bit brighter here, and I can even make it a little bit later in the day too, because when I photographed that, it was in mid-afternoon. It was an overcast day on a shadowed side of the building, but it was still fairly evenly lit throughout the photograph. Now we can enhance that a little bit just by darkening up the corners. And then what I'll also do is mask off some of these leaves. I just lightly drew in the vines where they're going to be. And what I'll do is have some leaves connecting to them. And those will be the lightest, most foreground leaves are going to be jumping out at you. Those will be the lightest ones. They will be protected by masking fluid. And then what I'll do is draw in and paint in some darker ones, a little bit of splashes of greens and blues for the shadowed wall area. But I don't want no grass green. That would be a little bit of a strong color for this particular color scheme. So I will tone my greens down with maybe a little bit of raw sienna, maybe even a little bit of permanent rose, and just get some various muted greens that will work well with this particular palette. We're going to dive right into this one and jump into it. This one I've been looking forward to do. I did it digitally. I want to do it as a traditional. And what I want to do first is mask these off and then just dive right into some really super light layers of different various colors, making sure they dry each layer very well. Let's go ahead and get started. The first thing I'm doing is putting down my friskit. This gives me the opportunity to protect the paper where the lighter colored green leaves will be. The last will very well be the vines connecting all the leaves. What I'm doing now is some various washes that are very light in color. Now keep in mind, I could take this over everything, but then I will lose the opportunity to have subtle highlights at the edges of the concrete on my dark shadowed areas. So even though some areas are still white paper, and they are going to be the darkest part of the picture, I want to still be able to paint around the white paper to protect it as a given highlight. Working with the negative shapes of the darker leaves, these will be the ones that will be behind the lighter colored leaves. Now working on the shadowed areas, I'm leaving some of the lighter watercolor paper there just so I can make some highlights or some subtle color changes. Working on the lantern, I'm using Dioxazine Purple, French Ultramarine Blue, and a burnt sienna, even with a little bit of permanent rose. Using the permanent rose by itself will give me that real strong reddish value that makes the patina of the old gas lantern. If I put all these colors down together on one layer, they would just mix into one gaudy gray layer, and that would be it. I want my individual colors to show just like the patina of the lantern. Making multiple layers is quite different than making one heavy layer, letting all the colors mix together. However, it is important to know that each layer must be thoroughly dry, otherwise your multiple colors will still mix together. You can easily scrub out what color is already down and mix it with the color you're applying. This is very important to know that I will often either use a hair dryer or, if I'm done for the night, leave the painting sit overnight and dry really well. This is very good when it comes to multiple colors, leaving a snappy, vibrant color in your mix. Let's take a look and see what we got. Okay, I just took off the friskit. I'm going to do these leaves up in a bluish green, a little bit more snappier green because those are going to be the leaves that are first and foremost in front of you. And then I have to do the vines that will connect all the leaves, a little bit of script work, that'll make a difference there. then I also have to create my textures throughout the concrete, and then a lot of squiggly lines where some of the colors of concrete overlap the others. Those will be the shadowed areas. We have a little bit more work to do on the lamp itself, but what I wanted to show you was that when I start doing my stipple work, if I just splash with a brush, that could be one way. That could be the small dots of individual grains of sand that may be in some of the concrete, whereas some of the more coarse pitted areas, I could paint those by hand randomly, but then I could also even use a sponge to create some texture effects also. My point is, I don't want to use the same effect everywhere, only because when you find a special effect or a way of doing something, then don't overdo it, because then it won't be special anymore. So what I want to do is randomize my textures, because there are different types of pits, sand grains, cracks. All of them are different and require a different texture. Then once I get my lines and cracks in, then I will be done with that kind of script work. But what I wanted to show you now was, this is an Isabey Siberian blue squirrel brush. This is a red sable, Kolinsky sable brush, and they are very different. I started out with this brush to mop in the big heavy areas. Mop brushes work great to hold a ton of water and a ton of color, that I could cover big areas all at once without worrying about running out of water. And they come to a real nice point also. But the problem is, once I start dry brushing, then I'm running out of water in the brush because I want to. I just want a little bit of color, very little water, so I can skim over the tooth of the paper. But the problem is, if I use the mop brush for that, this is what I get when the brush starts to run out of water. Very hard to control. You have to constantly twist it and move it around so the part of the brush touches the paper that you want it to. Whereas with the red sable, it has some really nice spring to it, and no matter how I put it down on the paper, I'm always going to have that original point that it comes with, and that is much easier to dry brush, that it springs back to the original point that you'll want to work with, and you're not going to be constantly twisting the brush to avoid that. So for that reason, I retire the Siberian blue squirrel mop brush and break out the Siberian Kolinsky sable brush to dry brush, and that's it. Just something to consider while you're working, depending on whether you're trying to mop in heavy sections or if you want to dry brush. Let's go ahead and get back to work and try and finish this thing up. Working on my snappy or colored leaves, these are the ones, again, that will be in the foreground, and they'll jump out at you a little wee bit more. Once I put in the vines, they'll all make sense as to where they're growing from. Now I'm just putting in some of the textures by hand in a freestyle way, and then I will mist it down with clear water and then splash some very light colors over it. Working with some of the areas up in the upper right hand corner, I'm slowly making things darker, but I want to try and keep my textures as strong as I can, even though they're fairly subtle in some areas. Also working with the lamp itself, I'm trying to figure out whether or not to make the glass a little bit darker. Here I'm splashing white over the glass, just as like the buildup of dirt and crust over the glass itself. But I may have made that done too early, only because I think I want to darken up the glass areas to indirectly lighten up my flame. Once I do that, then the flame will be a little bit lighter. Okay, let's take a look and see what we have. Now, one thing I did do was a little bit of heavy script work with a liner brush, and it's almost taking a pen and ink look with the harder dark lines here and there. And what that will do is start to outline some of the shapes. That's the specific look itself. Now I could also even make the lamp a little wee bit darker now, only because I made the rest of the background fairly dark compared to the photograph. So once I start darkening up the background, the intensity of my lamp might start to fall off a little bit, because now it's not as dark as it would be up against white paper. So there again is even another possibility, that because I have my original layout paper of the drawing, I could even trace it over with graphite paper onto another paper, and then maybe try and do it a little bit different. Maybe leave a lot of white paper and just a little hint of a little bit of stucco work or concrete work, and then have a real bold, dark lamp, which will be a completely different look compared to what I have now. So with that respect, that's why I said that it's just a good idea to have the drawing on a separate paper, that if you want to try it over a couple of different ways, then you'll figure out maybe this particular subject might work better a different way, that the first way you tried it, and you'll get another shot at it. Otherwise, I'm going to let this one go. I'll set it aside and maybe make my lamp a little bit darker, but I'm going to start losing my contrast there too, that everything will start to darken up, and will start to just to get to be a darker gob, and I'll start losing my shape and color variations, so I have to be careful there too. But again, this one I would consider done, and I'll put it aside to see if I'm going to work on it, or maybe even just start the exact same thing over again for myself, and to see what happens. So I'm going to consider this one done. I'll go ahead and start another one. I may move into acrylics next. Until I see you out in the field or back at the studio, thanks for watching.